Hey there, I'm Garth. I'm the animation tutor. I create a whole bunch of courses and mentorships that are specifically built for students to build their portfolio to get into their top choice animation schools. I've been helping young artists become animators for over 10 years now, and I've gotten over 100 students into colleges like Sheridan, Seneca, Capilano, RISD, SVA, CalArts, Gobelins, and the Animation Workshop in Denmark. I've taught students from all around the globe get into these incredible animation schools, and honestly, it's never hard to get students excited about animation because it's such an incredible medium. So check out my website to see all of the courses and mentorships that I offer, or book a meeting with me and I can kind of go through all the different learning resources that we have with you. Thanks for listening and enjoy the student interview. And a huge congrats of getting accepted into Sheridan. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Is it your first time applying?
No, I applied last year too.
Okay, so just second. That's pretty good these days. What was it like when you first found out that you got accepted? What was the situation? Paint us a picture.
Um, Honestly, I really wasn't expecting to get into Sheridan this year because this is a bit awkward to admit, but I didn't have much time. So this year I
Yeah.
applied to quite a lot of schools.
Okay.
So I was very busy this portfolio season, and I
Yeah.
only had about 2-ish weeks for Sheridan's application. So
Wow.
I did reuse a lot of my stuff from the previous year, which is
Okay.
why I was really not so confident that things would change much because last
Sure.
year I got a 92, but I was international, so
You
I
got
couldn't
what,
get,
sorry?
I
82?
got a 92. Yeah.
92.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. So you were
So,
like if you were domestic last year, you would have got
yeah,
accepted anyways.
I was so upset. I was
Yeah.
like, the cutoff was insane for that
Yeah.
year.
95 if I remember correctly.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. I think that's why they're marking harder this year is because they want to bring that average down a little bit. But wow, so that's a good score for your first time playing. So where are you based right now? You said you're international?
Yep, I'm in Sri Lanka right now.
Sri Lanka.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so pretty far out, pretty far away.
Yeah. And so what you also got accepted into Art Center, right?
So I got accepted into Art Center's entertainment concept program and
Yeah.
also CalArts animation.
Wow. Okay.
And
So you've got some choices to make in the next little while. Well, let's have a look at your portfolio, shall we? I've
yeah.
got it right here. And also, I saw you sent the link for your concept pieces. I've got the ArtStation files open, so we're
Oh,
good.
okay.
Fine. And then you'll maybe get some traffic from ArtStation, who knows? But yeah, so it looks like you got 94, which wow, fantastic. Like, look at this. It's so funny to see when there's like usually what it happens is there's like 1 mark here, 2 marks there, 1 mark,
Yeah,
but you
I've
got
never.
like 5 mark on storyboard, 1 mark on perspective, and that's it. Everything else is tip top shape. So that's fantastic. Storyboard, I do find is the most fickle. It is the most difficult to determine,
Yeah,
and
for
it seems
sure.
very dependent upon who's looking at it. So, but for the top section, wow, just wow, that is fantastic. I cannot wait to have it. Well, I've already seen it, but I'm excited for everyone else to see it too. So let's have a look through. So if there's anything you want to say about any of them, then feel free to jump right in.
Of course.
Nice.
Honestly, I had a pretty tough choice putting in my like long figures because I had a lot of really similar ones. And basically, when I applied the first time, I did figure practice pretty much every single day for like 2 months. So I
Okay.
had a lot to choose from. And I think
Good.
it was like I wasn't actually going to choose this one that you're looking at right now, but
Okay.
in like spur of the moment, I put it in, and I'm really
Sure.
glad, honestly.
Yeah, seemed to work out. It's not really much room to lose here. I mean, you've got perfect marks, so they clearly really like it. You have a lot of structure. You maybe even like overemphasize some of the structure, but
Mhm.
I think generally they're quite forgiving about that because they wanted to see that you know it at all. It's better to overemphasize than to simplify, I think, in this case when you're doing the longer
Yeah.
poses at least, right?
Mhm.
Nice. That's great. And did you have any training? Like, was it all self study with maybe some YouTube help, or how did you do
Oh,
this?
I wish I had training. I was so jealous of everybody who lived near like figure studies, but
Sure.
they don't really have any kind of live figures. So I
Yeah.
was always on like some YouTube video trying to like get see as much as I could
Great.
and practice.
Well, that's wonderful. And your gestures, nice. Still
I
lots
guess
of structure.
really I think a video that really helped me was Mike Matesi's Force series. I
Great.
really like watched
Yeah.
that over and over again.
Yeah. He's fantastic. He had a wonderful book too called the same, obviously. Yeah, he is seems and his style of drawing is very appropriate for animation, obviously. I mean, I think it's actually called figure drawing for animators. So it's interesting that you put in this marker.
Oh,
What,
this was actually from basically I did a couple pieces like just in January for CalArts and
okay,
I just I was gonna submit all my figures from my last portfolio, but when I was looking at this, I was like, I feel like this has better structure than it did last year. So I just like
sure.
put it in, even though it's
Okay.
not Conte.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's great. And your hand. Another hand, a couple hand drawings that really connects like that when we see it in motion, you can almost like fill in those in between frames of the animation. So yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's funny. It also feels like you almost like caricature the anatomy just a little bit. It's like a little more exaggerated than realism.
Yeah.
Was that also sort of an intention? It seems also sort of force influenced, I guess.
I think it's because I actually like really enjoy anatomy and I really enjoy like doing like hands and feet and stuff. So
Yeah,
I think naturally when I draw, I tend to overemphasize little bumps and ridges just because I like that.
sure. Yeah, that's good to know. Great. Hey, the USB key. Not this year's object, but maybe last year or maybe the previous year. Okay. Oh no, last year was juice box. Previous year was the USB key.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see your character. Oh, awesome. How did you come up with this guy?
This guy was actually from my personals from last year.
Okay.
And I kind of wanted to incorporate like my style and kind of culture wherever I could. So I was
Yeah.
like, rotation is a good place that I can like slip that in.
Yeah, that's great. I too encourage my students always to especially if they're international because we're going to see
Mhm.
different kinds of things, different kinds of stories than we would in the West. So I think that's a great idea. And even like there's to me in the mask at least I see an element of some kind of folklore maybe or
Yeah.
something. So I think that is I mean, so much animation is based off of various different folklores from
Right.
around the world. So I think that's
Yeah.
a great store of ideas to draw from. That's nice. Awesome. I like the props too. I don't mind adding props. I think it's a nice addition. It helps to kind of like further
I was told
differentiate the
not
character.
to from pretty much everybody I asked, but
Oh wow.
I couldn't figure out what to do with his hand, so I just gave him a prop.
I have never found with all of my students, I've never found props to be a detriment. Like they don't
Mhm.
so far the reviewers haven't been harsh on them like once. In fact, it helps to kind of give them more personality.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. That's funny. Short animation, another 15 out of 15. Wow. That little zoom forward, very cartoony. It almost has this like Looney Tunesy vibe to it or something.
Oh my God. Yeah, I think I had more fun with like the little effects than I did with like any of the actual animations.
Hey, that's good to know. Maybe you'll be a 2D effects artist. 2D effects are coming back after all, so that's awesome. Great. I like the little twirl at the beginning. That's very, you gave it a nice little like personality like right off the bat. This little excited little jiggle that it
Yeah,
does.
actually, like I kind of I copied the same sequence that I did last year, but
Yeah,
then um I had some help from a second year student and they were like, why don't
right.
you add a bit more like personality in? And that's that
Yeah,
end bit right there.
nice. That's great. Yeah. It's nice that you can give it some personality. It's not just a technical exercise, everyone. You can make it quite fun, actually. I always forget that. Oh yeah, storyboard. Okay. So 5 marks here. So let's see. What could it have been? Okay, so I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, okay, to be honest, I feel like storyboard, even in my own opinion, this is like one of my weaker points.
Sure.
It's always been kind of harder for me to, especially in 4 panels, visualize a whole story.
Hmm.
Um, I got the same mark last year as well, so
Okay.
they're not giving me any mercy.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm honestly not sure what went wrong, but as
Okay.
well, I'm making so.
So one thing that I'm a little bit curious about is like the big X on the paper that in the third panel we can see they're tossing away. Is that
Mhm.
your representation of trying to tell us that this Fox's graffiti art has sort of been denied or like um
Basically, it
yeah.
was their rejected little portfolio or sketchbook,
Yeah.
and you know, they see a new opportunity.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Nice. I guess like it sometimes can be hard. Like the funny thing is, you clearly, I guess you drew this little graffiti that he eventually made, and it looks
Mhm.
like it. I see it there. I kind of you might have just distorted it. I don't know, but I can see that there a little bit. But you do
Mhm.
have to look at it a fair bit to
Yeah.
like, and it's maybe a little more visible here. Um,
Right.
but I guess one thing that I'm always cautious about is if you want something represented on a paper or book or anything like that, or even an
Mhm.
iPad or something, you really kind of need to get over the shoulder and like show what that thing is because
Right.
sometimes it's
Right.
hard to have it big enough, right? To be like, this is what's going on in there. Like we see a big X, but the
Mhm.
the drawing itself is, yeah, we can see it a
Yeah.
little bit, but we mostly see it because of the ending. I
Right.
do like the third panel in that it's like tossing that away and I'm going
Mhm.
for it. Like he looks like he's up to something mischievous. So I think that in a
Yeah.
way tells us that. But yeah, I almost like if you had the paper on the desk over the shoulder shot of the fox and then seeing a
Mhm.
teacher being like, no, and he like tears it up. Well, see, but
Right.
you can't do this in multiple panels because you could have him tear it up and throw it, but obviously you can't do that all in one
Mhm.
panel. Yeah, it's tricky. You've bitten off a tricky one, honestly, to show in a good way, like, okay, this thing has been denied, but the X is a good effort for sure. But
Mhm.
great drawings of the fox, though. You're definitely 100% on model. I don't think there's any problem there. Maybe just a little bit of clarity of story stuff, but yeah.
Mhm.
All right, let's see. So, perspective line drawing. So 1 mark here, which I have to say is shocking that you lost a mark here.
Is it?
Well, I guess like you have so much concept work that we're eventually going to see. Well, I don't know. What do you think? Could be some
I
scale stuff, maybe.
I kind of expected lower for perspective, so I'm really
Okay,
happy they gave me a 14.
sure,
I really rushed my perspective drawings, so these are like the last things I drew, kind of.
sure. Okay.
Um, and I also like because this is kind of what I like the most. I don't know if this
Hmm.
makes sense, but I procrastinated the most on it as well.
Ah, okay,
So
sure.
I really rushed it in, and honestly, a 14 is generous, I feel like.
It's funny that yeah, because you're confident about it, you're like, oh, I'm not gonna get to that yet. But then eventually it's like, okay, I need to do that. It's funny, even if you're confident at something, sometimes the time it takes is it can
Yeah,
almost be like easier to underestimate the time that it takes because
exactly.
you're confident with it. So absolutely. Well, um, yeah, cool. I mean, some things feel a little bit big, to be honest. Like when I look at that lamp and even some of these books compared to her, I'm like, oh boy, that's a big book and a very tall shelf with like where she is.
Right.
And honestly, like of all of my students, like scale is probably the number one thing. It's just like putting, not being quite aware of where the person's scale is moved around in that environment, like that's a tricky thing to work out. So, but nonetheless, you got 14. I love these decorative. This is a little prelude to some of the personal work we're going to see, but your decorative kind of designs are really wonderful. So, yeah, actually now I think it's that's the last. Yeah, yeah, personal work. Okay. So we'll go through your personal work in here first, and then we'll kind of have a look at your online stuff after. Okay, nice.
That's my sketchbook.
Yeah, great. I like how expressive you are with the ink. You're not
Mhm.
you're adding a little bit of your own stylization and design to it, which I've found is does wonders for sketchbooks.
Right.
It really is a helpful thing to kind of not just draw 100% what you see. There's an element of design in everything that you do
Mhm.
from here on out, basically for animation. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. Oh, this is great. And again, nice to see
Hmm.
some different cultural kind of people and spaces. I think that's wonderful.
This is actually like my favorite spread, I think.
Yeah, this one, the dogs. That's great. Yeah.
Because they move around, they like move around so much. So I was really proud of being able to
Yeah.
actually draw it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're so minimalistic with your strokes, but they're very effective. Like you've
Mhm.
chosen the right marks, but there are a few of them. And
Right.
that's kind of that economy of line is very, very important for animation. So I'm not surprised they enjoyed this. The ability to kind of like because yeah, with a dog or a cat, you kind of have to take a mental picture and then kind of just
Exactly.
draw off from that. So yeah, it's tricky. But nice. Yeah, it's always good to draw some structural things, some statues, buildings, objects, whatever it might be, to not just have characters. Oh, wow. Yeah, you've got a lot of different spaces. Simplification of nature, kind of designing different space. That's great. Different
Mhm.
mediums. Nice.
I had a lot of pages because I did my CalArts sketchbook.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's funny, you've got so much white space around your oh, I guess it was
Yeah.
some kind of scan or something.
Oh, no, I'm not very good at figuring out how to like make things a PDF and stuff.
Oh,
So
okay.
and
Fair
I
enough.
was running late, so I was like, okay, it's
Sure.
fine.
Yeah, they'll see it. That's all right. Oh, I love this. This is just my favorite. To cut a
Cut
mango
it
like
short.
that, oh, it's so wonderful. And mangoes themselves are incredible. Um, yeah, nice. Wow. Great, great sketches. Okay, some figure work too. Nice. Great. Great mixture of different things. That's
Mhm.
nice. Yeah, really great.
I really enjoy like drawing with ink fast. I think you can tell,
Yeah,
but like it's I like being able to use like less strokes
sure.
and I feel like ink is like the best medium for that. So I
Yeah.
had a lot of the sketchbook.
That's great. Yeah. Another thing that I would encourage everyone to use inks for is that it photographs very well. It looks very good when you because sometimes with pencil, the lighter strokes when you're leveling it out will be lost, right? So with
Yes,
ink, it's always
yes,
like
I've seen.
100% there. It's really great. So now we're getting into sort of your concept art like
Mhm.
stuff. And this, I just have to say, I think this is such a strong part of your portfolio. Like, I think all of your concept artwork is just
Mhm.
fantastic, and it's all quite it's quite stylized. Like, I love it though. It reminds me of I don't even know who are some of your influences, Ami?
Um, oh, in terms of artists,
Yeah,
I love so many artists. I think I leech off of like every single artwork I see a
yeah,
lot. Um, I I don't think I can even tell you who like my favorite. I struggle with this
sure.
question.
I know.
Uh,
It's like saying, "What's your favorite movie?" And you're like,
yeah,
"Oh, yeah, absolutely."
but I feel like I don't restrict myself to any specific style or anything. I like to tell
Yeah,
myself, you draw whatever, and that will always be your art.
yeah.
So like, this piece, for example, I actually drew this not for any schools. I drew this for myself
Oh,
because
nice.
I had to put in my favorite colors with like my favorite concepts and see what would come out of it.
Sure.
So I spent a while on both like Procreate and CSP, and I was really just trying to bring out like an element of like fantasy and nostalgia, if that makes
Mm,
sense.
sure.
Um,
Okay.
I think I wanted it to be a bit soft, but also like magical. I'm a big
Yeah.
inspiration this piece was Ponyo's mom.
Oh,
Like
nice.
I was like really I think I watched the movie and I was like, wait, I have to draw something. Hold on.
Sure. And yeah, it does have a slight Ghibli vibes to me, even just like the weaving nature into it and the flow of
Mhm.
the birds. And but I
Mhm.
love also the effects. Like you're right. It's funny because you mentioned briefly that you like the effects in the animation more than the
Yeah,
animation.
I
But
love.
like look at these like just I don't even know how to describe it. I love what you're doing down here though. Like this section is just super interesting. The variety of marks, variety of strokes, like
I
some of it is
love to
representational,
do
some of it is
hatching.
design. Who?
Like, I love to do like hatching
Yeah.
and really, really intricate little shapes like this. So that's
Hmm.
why I love like effects because that is basically
Yeah.
what effect is.
Yeah. And it really does feel like she's like kind of melting or
Hmm.
something. But it reminds me a little bit of a couple folks actually. It reminds me of the comic Mobius, a little bit, the comic artist
Oh,
Mobius, and
wait.
and also someone else that I can't remember right now. But um
There's
oh,
probably.
Mucha, Alphonse Mucha. Is there any Mucha?
Oh, I love Luca's work. I have
Yeah.
like 5 prints on my wall.
Yeah, yeah. And then just yeah, it's like a Ghibli Muka kind of combo here. But even just the texture that you're building up, I for some reason I see this a lot more in European art,
Mhm.
like concept art kind of. And I'm not quite sure why. It's funny, like, but there's a lot more work to like it's almost quite explorative. It's like
Mhm.
verging into like
Mhm.
fine art illustration kind of areas where you're kind of like playing with the forms itself and making it almost more of a
Yeah,
design. And I think Mobius in particular is very conscious of that. So that's yeah. Also,
I always
Sergei Topi, the Italian comic artist, you remind me of a tiny, tiny bit too. I'm not sure if you know him, but what were you gonna say?
I feel like I always kind of I love because I'm a big fan of doing like traditional art as well. I like
Great.
realism quite a lot and I
Hmm.
love like, things that look quite realistic, but at the same time, I love like fantastical things like
Yeah.
Ghibli and all that stuff. So when I draw, I am really conscious of like balancing the two, which is why I
Sure.
think you notice that like fine art element of it.
Hmm.
I
That's
wanted to
great.
look a bit realistic as well all the time.
Yeah. It's a nice blend of each.
Um, this is a mini comic again that I didn't prepare for any school specifically.
Okay.
Uh, I think I just finished my like final exam, my A-level exams, and I like just had artistic freedom for the first time in like months.
Sure.
I just saw like a bug on the wall and I was like, I feel inspired. And I
Great.
drew a comic.
Good for
I
you. Getting inspiration from life itself. That's wonderful. And we're seeing elements of your design even in this hair and in like yeah, you're a great designer. Like I can see that you're aware of the shapes and but you're also interested in the internal texture of it. That's where I
Mhm.
see like Sergei Topi in your work a little bit. But
Mhm.
yeah, just wonderful. And you've got some traditional
Yeah.
more I guess these are sort of more finished pieces. You didn't want to put them in your sketchbook because they're more like they're their own works. Nice. Is that oil on the top, right?
That is an acrylic piece.
Acrylic. Okay. Wow, good for you. Always find acrylic to be the most difficult, honestly. Um,
I would have used oil for sure, but I just couldn't find any, so I had to
sure.
mix it up.
Yeah. Nice. And a storyboard of which you've got a story for it, looks like.
This is actually a piece from my last portfolio, so it's quite old,
Okay.
but that I mean a storyboard can't go wrong, right?
Yeah.
I'm honestly like not very happy with it, but all things considered, I thought best I put it in.
I think it's great. I mean, it's so clear. It's so clear. You weren't trying to get too deep into the. I mean, some of them are very background heavy, but some
Mhm.
it's just like just character focused, and it allows us to focus on just the action. Which the nice thing about that is from afar, like from here, looking at it, even though each thumbnail is quite small, it makes it quite readable. So you're
Right.
clearly very conscious of like the readability of each board, which is
Mhm.
great. Nice and not too long either. Okay, so that's all. Oh no, you have an animation. Let's have a look at this too.
God.
Is this maybe from your last portfolio too, considering your comment there?
I see a lot of things I would change, but
Sure.
again, with time.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Nice painting in the background though. Okay, let's look at your epic art station thing that we're gonna here it is. So wow, yeah, I was just blown away by all of this work. I was just so you've done like this whole sort of like concept art pitch package, all with nice description, with nice page design. I'm so impressed by this little like divider here, and then these different characters sort of outfits in them. I'm like, holy, the just the care that you put into this. I was just like, holy, this is incredible. And I really like that you put your inspiration too. I find that's a thing that often students feel like, oh, I can't put that because it's not mine. And it's like, you're allowed
Right.
to say that you've been inspired by things. Like, that's absolutely every concept artist does that.
Must be, yeah.
Yeah. And just like the page design and just the whole thing, I'm just like, wow, okay, here's your ticket into the industry right now. I don't know what you're going to learn at Sheridan, but I guess go anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so this was my ACCD portfolio for
Yeah.
entertainment design concept track, and
Mm.
the requirement was that you build two or three worlds within 25 pages.
Okay. Worlds,
And
wow. Is that the
yeah,
language they use that for that? That's a very open term.
world building.
Yeah.
Um, and well, the thing is, I was already aware of like the prices and the difficulty of like US schools at the time.
Sure.
But I always knew that doing this wouldn't really be something I would like dislike, or I
Yeah.
never thought, I always knew that this portfolio would never like be something I regret because I always wanted to like build the world that I had for my original characters.
Okay.
Because I think like one of my biggest inspirations is, well, you don't see very much South Asian, I think, like stories and worlds that are like, I think, pretty big right now. There's
Yeah.
a lot of cultures that are used, but I never like, I've always basically wanted to see mine. So
Sure.
I was ready to do this from the second I learned that I could do it for a portfolio. So I
Yeah.
put all into it, and it
Wow.
wasn't stressful, but I had so much fun. I genuinely enjoyed
Great.
a lot.
I am not surprised. I see that in this. I just like look at it, I'm like, wow, this just looks like you've got your effects and your design in this. Like I can see that same sort of consideration of the flow of those different forms, even though we're not necessarily sure what those forms are. Although you tell us some of them, so that's good. But yeah, wow. And a great mixture. I also want to emphasize the mixture of fluidity and organic shaped things
Mhm.
and creatures and characters. And then the hard sort of geometric, they in 3D they call it like hard surface modeling.
Mhm.
You've got a great blend of each, and then also still some great, wonderful personalities intact too. So yeah, just the sheer. Oh, here we have sort of almost like your character design too, or at least the sort of mask that we saw.
Yep.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, just incredible. I don't know. I don't even know where to begin. When I look through this, I'm just like, oh boy, this is just like please make this film right now is how I felt
Oh
about it.
I'm really proud of it, and I'm so happy. I was like, even if I get rejected, I'm just happy, honestly, that I made it.
If you
Um,
got rejected, then who is my question? Like, who is the person that is meant for that program if not you? Like, even that, like, it's funny because this is just this little sort of
mhm.
landscape, but I just love it. I don't know, just like you just have a very interesting style that weaves itself through everything that you do. Here too, this is just like just outstanding. I just cannot
I feel like
like
you can tell how much I enjoyed this from like my
yeah.
pieces. I feel like
Hmm.
because everything is um like it was very like flowy. I like
Yeah.
drawing flowy, if that makes sense.
I do too. I hear you. It's super fun. So just so I know everyone's going to ask us. So what are your tools? You mentioned Procreate, you mentioned Clip Studio. Do you kind of
Oh.
dance between those two, or what else do you use?
So I used Procreate for a lot of my stuff, but when I first started this, I used Clip Studio.
Okay.
I kind of find that Clip Studio lets me be a bit more like I'm not sure what the word is, but like explorative with sketches and stuff.
Sure.
So I
Yeah.
use it a lot for my thumbnails, and then I do like base colors and like a lot of textures on CSP, and then I moved to Procreate to do like finer details and inking. Like all that black inking is done on
Cool.
Pro. And then I go
Okay.
back to CSP for some more effects and like
Neat.
overlays.
I always love hearing this because everyone has their own preference. Like I have my own preference too. And that's neat that you're like you go over to Procreate for a little bit and then you go back. That's great. Yeah. Procreate is I sometimes get frustrated with Procreate with like it's constantly moving and like I don't know, for some reason
Yeah.
just like I don't want it to move all the time and I like the stability of a desktop software, but I don't know. I totally I also love zooming in with my hand and like it's quite expressive and like hands-on literally. So I get it.
I
But
get very frustrated with Procreate's like layer settings really often because it's kind of like
sure.
it's very minimal what you can do with it.
Yeah.
But I think overall, I will just use one of the apps until I get sick of it, and I'll just move
Yeah.
to the next one.
That's great. Do you use a lot of like blending modes and stuff or layers or
Oh
brushes?
yeah, I
Yeah.
do use a lot of blending modes. It's my cheat code to
Yeah.
making it look good.
Yeah. As soon as I got into it, I was like, oh, this is powerful. I gotta watch out. I gotta make sure that I can still mix colors because the manual
Oh
wouldn't.
yeah,
But
sometimes I just like practice without it to see if I've still got it, but
sure.
then I
That's great. Well, this is incredible. And then we have another one, of course. Holy, just incredible. Yeah.
um
So this was in your Sheridan personal work or not at
yeah,
all?
both of these were in there.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so my guess is I've actually heard that sometimes they will see
Mhm.
your personal work and if they absolutely love it, like in this exact case, then they'll be like, this person's getting in. Like we need to do
Oh,
whatever.
really?
Yeah, and I'm not saying like obviously I'm not saying you don't deserve
Yeah.
all of the marks that you got. That's though you
Mhm.
absolutely. But if you have personal work that blows them away, sometimes they will be like because they have a team of people that are reviewing it, right? So they'll kind of
Mm.
like there'll be certain people that'll vouch for you and be like, okay, this we need to
Oh,
get
I
this
was
person into
not
the
aware of
program.
that.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people don't know that. But personal work, basically what I'm saying is personal work is worth a lot. Like it says it's worth 15. I think
It
it's
has
worth
a bit
quite a
more
bit
influence
more. I think
then.
that this is where they get to see you too, right? This is where you get to kind of like show what you're interested in.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Personal work is just such a undervalued area. I think a lot of people see personal work as like, whatever's left over after I'm kind of finished the required stuff. But
Mhm.
it just so I think personal work is everyone's place to shine, really. I think that's a
The
wonderful,
funnest part, like, there's no requirements. You can do whatever you want.
yeah.
To them. This part of the portfolio, like my second world here, I basically just put in everything I liked and I kind of
Mhm.
mashed it together. Like
Yeah.
I love painting like porcelain and I love painting like
Mm.
moss and white and like that
Wow.
kind of color scheme. So I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's do that.
Incredible. I also have to give it to you. You have a great sense of like layout and design of pages. Like just looking at these pages, you
I
have these
stressed
little
about that a
designs.
lot.
Sorry?
I stressed about that quite a lot.
Yeah. Like even your font choice, like you could be a graphic designer if I mean, absolutely you should do concept art, but
I think I
um,
spent almost like equal time doing my portfolio and then trying to lay it out. Like I spent a lot of time
there we
doing
go.
the
Good
layout.
good tip for everyone listening here.
Yeah,
Oh,
oh my goodness. If you do an ACCD portfolio, never leave layout for the last part.
I
Please
bet.
don't.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this is great, Ami. I cannot again, like this is just absolutely a joy. As soon as I saw your portfolio, I'm like, oh, we need to chat about this. This is incredible. So I do have those four questions for you. So I'm going to ask you, if you could do the whole thing again, what would you do differently?
I think um first and foremost, and also probably obviously, I wouldn't leave my perspective layouts for last.
Sure,
I wish I could have shown how I could actually do them, like my actual potential with
sure.
these. It's something I like a lot.
Hmm.
Uh, and I'm really sad that I had to rush it, and this is what they think I can do.
Sure,
But aside from that, I also kind of wish that when I did my storyboard, I chose a different like because I didn't realize how difficult the story I actually went with was until I kind of started doing it. And
Sure.
then I didn't have time to redo it, right? So I
Yeah.
wish I chose a more simple, readable, um, like prompt, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. I think those 5 marks prove that's probably a good idea. And was there some advice that someone gave you that was critical?
Um, I think it's not like one person, but everybody says this, and it was really true, but it was to practice figures every day. Like
Yeah,
not only like helps, but it gives you like a warm up to start everything else as well. And
sure.
it kind of gets you in the zone. So it really helped me, and I would recommend.
Absolutely. That's great. Good tip. I'm always trying to encourage more regularity because when I was at Sheridan in Art Fundamentals trying to get into animation, we went like 2 or 3 times a week because we had so much access to
Yeah,
it. So especially if you're in a program that has live drawing all
yeah.
the time, absolutely go to it. You can't do yourself more of a disservice than to miss it. So and do you feel like anything in your portfolio gave you an edge up on on the competition? I have something to say about that. I think absolutely your personal work was just incredible. But from your perspective, is there anything that you feel like gave you an edge?
Well, since I didn't really know that, because I thought all sections were marked like separately, and I didn't know that like one had a bit of an influence of the rest. So because of that, I thought personally the like biggest advantage I had was the fact that I started really early.
Sure.
I started like when I did my portfolio for the first time, I actually started super early and I tried most of like even my like hand drawings and stuff. I tried different hand drawings before this one. So like I had a lot
Great.
of time available
Yeah,
and I was really grateful for starting my rotation super early
sure.
because I think I struggled on that a lot as well.
Yeah. Where is it? There it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Especially for something like this that can be quite finicky. I find with some of my students where I look at it again and again and again, and I always find little things that are slightly
Something new.
inconsistent and
Yeah.
things like that. So yeah, you can kind of endlessly find things if you're looking. So it is tricky. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so the last one is more of a fun question. With unlimited resources and staff at your disposal, what would be the animated production that you would make?
I feel like it's pretty obvious, but
Yeah.
the world that I built, so this world I
Hmm.
built, if I ever got the chance to actually make this, I would be so, so happy because
Yeah,
this is like my heart and soul on
absolutely.
screen.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to come out too. This is so great.
I also enjoy like I enjoy a lot of like D&D fantasy video games kind of
Sure.
situation. So I really love fantasy and to mix that with a culture that is really not like shown on screen as much. I feel like
Yeah,
so much potential and so much fun. And
absolutely. That's so
like
great. I agree. We don't see nearly enough of this area of the world represented. I'd say especially in video games, actually. Video games are
yeah,
often like quite Western in a way that I feel is
like they
almost
tend to
like
take a
borderline
little bit of
ethnocentrism.
inspiration for a character or two, but
Yeah,
then there's so much potential. Like when I was researching
sure.
this, there were like a million things I could choose from that nobody
Yeah,
had touched on. And it's such a shame, honestly. Like
yeah.
so much stuff available.
Yeah. One question I have about this actually is did you read any old history or mythology or like
Oh, yeah,
yeah, where did the story idea come from?
even though like I wanted to use Sri Lankan history, my,
Hmm.
myself, I initially didn't know too much except for like the, well-known traditions.
Sure.
So I think I spent so long and so much effort doing research. I even like went to actual like ruins. I went to two ruins. I went to
Wow.
Pona, Radhapura, and I went to museums and I think I could do like probably like a lecture on Sri Lankan history by now because
I
I
believe
researched
you.
so much for this.
Yeah.
Like every little thing here is actually historically accurate from this.
Wow. Good for you. Standing ovation. That is incredible. That's what I always want. Yeah, that's exactly what. Yeah. This is reaffirming because this is what I'm trying to tell students is not to just use the internet basically. Like go places, even like find books, find things that aren't just like attached to the algorithm to for your inspiration and your
There's only so
research and
much I feel like Pinterest can give you in a search or
yeah.
two. But if
Hmm.
you really go into it, there's so much stuff to take inspo from, like
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much.
Wow. Well, this is great. Such an incredible portfolio, Ami. I absolutely love it. Do you know have you decided on your school yet or oh
No,
yeah. Oh yeah,
I
we'll chat about that after this actually. So, well yeah, this is such a great portfolio. Fantastic work. Congrats, and I'm not surprised you're getting accepted everywhere.
thank
Really, really
you.
awesome.